All right, let's talk about the beef between Yahshar'al, or Israel, and Samaria. Now, a friend of mine, she's already done a video on it. She actually tagged me in it because this was a conversation we were having. And this whole conversation is based off of 2 Kings chapter 17. Let's do a little backstory. She's already talked about it, like I said, but we're going to, I want to add my 2 cents. I've been adding my 2 cents in behind the scene, but let's add it in now as a actual video informally, since she's tagged me. So now I gotta do a video as well. Here's the thing. You have the kingdom of Israel, 12 tribes, right? From Jacob's 12 sons. And they come out of the land of Egypt where they were held captive as slaves. And they go into the promised land and they create this kingdom. In this promised land, they kick the inhabitants out, so to speak, kind of. Supposed to kick them all out, but they don't really. They do kick some of them out. But they are 12 tribes, one kingdom, Israel. First king's name is Saul. Second king's name is David. There was a little rift there. And, part of the 10 tribes didn't really want to recognize David. And the other 2 tribes, Judah, which David comes from, and Benjamin was hanging tight with him, right? We with you. And then David unites them all together again. All right. One kingdom, Israel. Once again, David's son takes over. His name is Solomon, or Shlomo, I think is the real way to say it, right? He takes over. Things are going okay. Things are good. And then things get bad. Things get real bad because Solomon decides he wants to be bad. So what is the prophecy that comes to him? Guess what? The kingdom is going to be split. I'm not going to take the whole kingdom from you, but it's going to be split. You'll get Judah and Benjamin. The other 10 tribes are going to go on their own, have their own kings. So now we're at the point where Solomon dies and his son takes over, Rehoboam. And then you have Jeroboam, right? Rehoboam, Jeroboam. Names sound familiar, sound the same. Jeroboam takes over the kingdom of the 10 tribes, which becomes the northern kingdom of Israel. And Rehoboam takes over the southern kingdom of Israel, which becomes known as Judah, because Judah and Benjamin are together. So the southern kingdom now becomes known as Judah. The northern kingdom becomes known as Samaria, or Shomeron, for the capital that they made for themselves, because Jerusalem was no longer the capital of Israel, the entire kingdom. They split into 2, north and south. North, Samaria, Shomeron. South, Judah, Yahudah, or Yahudim. Okay. There we are. Here we are. Right? So the kings of the southern and the northern kingdoms just get progressively bad. There's one thing that Yah said to them. So I want to go through these verses first. There's a lot of them. So before they even came out of the land of Egypt, Yahudah is who I'm talking about. Sometimes you'll say God, right? Sometimes I say Abba, but I like to call him by his name, Yahudah. Or I'll call him Abba, which means father. That's who he is, right? He said to them, you have to do everything I say and obey the rules and the statutes and the commandments that I laid down for you, because these are going to protect you from the things that you don't have any clue about. They're going to protect you from these different things, because if you don't follow the way I set this up, you're going to fall into the same judgment that is for these other peoples that you're encountering. And these other peoples have judgment because they're doing things opposite of the way I have it set up. And there's consequences for that. There's an effect. effect with an E, and an effect that happens when you don't follow my rules, and it shows physically. It shows up physically in the people, it shows up physically in the land, it shows up physically in the water, and everything that they do, because they do not follow me. Don't do what they do. Leviticus 20 and 23 says that, but read the whole chapter. Deuteronomy 12 says that. Read the whole chapter, 12 and 30, right? But read the whole chapter. Deuteronomy 31, 32 goes over all of that. Read the whole chapter. 2 Kings 16. Ezra 9. Jeremiah 10. Acts 7 and 39. But read the whole chapter. Galatians 1. I'm going to come right back to that. Galatians chapter 1 is something else, right? But that'll be something I come back to. Ephesians 4 and 17. Ephesians 4, 17 through 19, right? Talks about it. Read the whole chapter, though. Get the context of it. Matter of fact, probably go back and start at chapter 1 and see what's going on there. But chapter 4 mentions that. Don't do what the other nations do. Thessalonians chapter 4 mentions that. Colossians chapter 3 mentions that. So we see that this warning is being given to Yah's people from the beginning to the very end. Even in Exodus, it mentions that, right? Numbers mentions that. I didn't put that in there, but Numbers mentions that. Exodus mentions that. Even Genesis mentions, do what I say, or bad things are going to happen to you. If you do what I say, I have a lot of blessings for you. And the reason why I'm telling you to do this is so you can walk into those blessings. But if you don't do what I say, you're going to walk in by default curses. That's just what happens. You're going to walk right into curses. It's a default. It's not because I'm doing this to you. No, I'm trying to protect you by telling you do this. And if you don't, guess what? You've taken that away from me, and you've decided on yourself of your own volition or free will, right, to walk into curses. I can't help you. There is that pause for dramatic effect, right? So, Yah, he repeats, through his mercy, he repeats the same thing over and over and over and over and over again. He just keeps repeating it. Do what I say. It sounds bad because of the toxicity that this world brings and what we go through. And people who say, do what I say, have turned out to be bad people. So we take that and we project that onto Yah. So anytime he says, obey me, we fight against that. We rebel against it because we're projecting that toxicity that we experienced onto Yah. And he's not like that. But he consistently, through his mercy, says, follow me, guard what I told you to do. Just keep following that and you'll be okay. And he not only puts it in the word, in the scriptures, but he says it through his prophets. Moses was his prophet. He said it through that. Joshua was his prophet. He said it through that. What is a prophet? Very quickly, a prophet is a person who speaks the word of a spirit. They get the word from a spirit, and then they speak whatever that spirit told them to speak. That can go good or bad. That's why you have false prophets and you have prophets of Yah. Yah had his own prophets, and throughout the times and the lines, his prophets would continuously repeat the same thing. Here's a look at some of his prophets and the same things that they would repeat over and over again through Yah's mercy to say, hey, you're going the wrong way. Make sure you stay in the way that I said, because if you don't, this is coming for you. It has no choice. It's going to chase you down. It's coming just like it chased down these people that I protected you from, and that I made you a nation to be feared against. And they actually fear me because they've heard of me and my fame, and my name is fame, and they remember. So you remember. Make sure you remember, right? His prophet Samuel said the same thing. You can find that in Samuel somewhere. Prophet Nathan. Nathan was with David, the King David, and he would always come to David. Yo, repent. You not doing what Yah said. That's why this happened to you. That's why your family is having this problem. That's why you having all these problems. That's why your son died, because you did not follow what I said. Do what Yah said. And David was like, oh, shoot, my bad. I am so sorry. I'm truly sorry. And he went and followed after Yah, did what Yah told him to do, right? You had, who else? Isaiah, Elisha, Elijah, Amos, Hosea, Joel, Micah, Obadiah. Now, these people that I'm mentioning, a lot of these people were contemporaries. What does contemporary mean? They were around at the same time saying the same thing. So you didn't just have one person at one time and then another person came in. No, you had multiple people around the same time saying the same word of Yah. Do what I said. Guard my commands. Don't do that. Don't do what you see them doing, because what you see them doing, just like they're in trouble, you're going to follow along with them and get in trouble too. And you ain't going to like it. And you're going to be wondering why would Yah do this to me? No, I told you do this so you wouldn't have to get that. But you don't listen. Elijah and Obadiah, contemporaries. That's what they say. They kind of guess, but they say it's either him and Elijah were contemporaries, or maybe Jeremiah and Obadiah contemporaries. But all of these people were contemporaries. Isaiah and Amos, same time. Amos was around when Elisha was around doing his thing, prophesying to the northern kingdom of Israel. Isaiah was prophesying to both kingdoms, but mainly it was to the northern kingdom of Israel. Like, yo, judgment is coming. These Assyrians are coming and they're going to take you away. Stop now. Stop now before it's too late. Amos saying the same thing. Hosea saying the same thing. Jonah and Hosea, contemporaries. Jonah was actually preaching to Assyria and telling them, turn from your wicked ways or you're going to get it. You're going to face judgment. They listened for a time and then they stopped listening. And what happened to the Assyrians? They faced judgment too. Joel and Micah, like I said, all of these people were around the same time, saying the same word of Yah. It never changed. Don't do what these other nations do. Follow my rules. Guard my commandments, and it'll go well with you. All right, I digress. So what were we talking about? Beef between Yahshar'al, beef between Judah and Yahshar'al. There's a beef between Judah, the southern kingdom of Yahshar'al, and Samaria, the northern kingdom of Yahshar'al. Now, I'm going to interchange these words a lot, but I want you to get it down and understand. Northern kingdom of Israel equals Samaria, Shomeron, or the Shomeronium. I'm probably saying that wrong, but that just means people from Shomeron or Samaria. Sometimes they'll say Samaritans or the Samarians, right? Northern kingdom of Israel. Anytime I say Judah, Yahudim, Yahudah, that is the southern kingdom of Israel. I want you to get that straight. They had beef with each other. They had beef with each other right from the very beginning. Nah, we going with David. Nah, we going with Saul's son or whoever it was. I can't remember who they had beef with, but they had beef with each other from the very beginning. Now, the northern kingdom of Israel, they were particularly wicked. So was the southern kingdom, but they more followed Yah than the northern kingdom did. And Yah had mercy on them because of David. And he said, I won't completely take this away from you, and I'm going to keep this line of Yahudah, which included Benjamin and some of the Levites together. But the northern kingdom, they, from the get-go, Jeroboam or Yahraboam, he started this whole thing off. He kicked it off, and from then on, it was a point of no return because they set up their own capital, Samaria or Shomeron. They set up their own priests, and they set up their own idols, and it was not Yah who was their Yah, their Elohim anymore. It wasn't Yahudah. They followed after other mighty ones. So now we're talking about these Babylonians and these Assyrians that are next to them. Here's a bit of context for today. The Babylonians and the Assyrians are from the countries of Iraq, Iran, or the Assyrian Empire, or the Babylonian Empire included the countries of Iraq, Iran, southern Turkey, Syria, Jordan, parts of Saudi Arabia, this whole Middle Eastern area, and of course, the Kingdom of Israel and all that was there too. They covered all of these lands, and that was a part of their kingdom or their empire. Babylonians and the Assyrians, they're one and the same. They were different tribes of people, but they're still one of the same as when you're thinking about the empire. Okay. So the northern kingdom, they constantly rebelled against Yah, like truly rebelled, and Yah constantly sent his prophets to warn them. Elijah, Elisha, all of these people to warn them. Isaiah, Amos, Hosea, Joel, Micah. Hey, stop. Obadiah, stop this, or you are going to be taken away. You are going to be exiled, and you will never return. You're going to get exiled, and you will never return back to the land. This is the northern kingdom of Israel, the Samarians, the Shomerons, right? They were never going to return. He said, stop now. Stop this. I'm pleading with you. I'm begging with you. Just do what I told you to do. If you don't, you're going to get removed from this land. This land is going to vomit you up just the same way it did to the people of Canaan. That's the whole reason why they got vomited out, and the whole reason why I sent you through there like a whirlwind. And you were able to prevail over them because of me, because there was a curse on them. They were accursed because of what they were doing. And I told you, don't do what they do, but you're doing it. They didn't listen. So what happened? The Assyrian Empire came in and took over. Now, this particular Assyrian king, his name was Shalmaneser. Shalmaneser the fifth. There was 5 of these people. I think that was all of them. He was the last, Shalmaneser the fifth. And he ruled. He didn't rule for a long time, the Assyrian kingdom, but it was about 727 BC to 722 BC. Guess what happened in 723 BC to the northern kingdom of Israel? Their last king, King Hosea, same as the prophet Hosea. So there was 2 Hoseas. There was a King Hosea and there was a prophet Hosea. And the other Hosea was like, yo, check yourself. And the other Hosea was like, nah, I ain't going to do that. I ain't listening. I'm going to try and make a pact with Egypt. And Egypt going to have my back. And we're going to get these Assyrians off our back. Guess what happened? Shalmaneser came in 723 BC, shut down King Hosea, and they went into exile. Now, Shalmaneser, the Assyrian king, he exiled them into the land of the Medes and the Persians. So they were in Iran. He sent them to Iran, a couple cities there, maybe 3 or 4, right? And they went to Iran. He sent them to Hala, to Habur, and Gazon, I think is the name of it. But this is in Iran and Persia, the Medes, where the Midians are, and the Persians are. That sounds familiar, right? With Daniel, the Medes and the Persians? Yeah, it should. We'll get back to that too, right? But the Israelites were deposed from the land. They were emptied from the land. The northern kingdom of Israel, Samaria, was emptied. That land was emptied of all the Israelites. They emptied it out and sent them over to Iran. You go over there now, and that's where you live. Since you want to be funny, you ain't going to pay me tribute. Now you live here. And from there, they got scattered over the entire earth from Iran. Now the land is empty. Shalmaneser, he loses his kingdom, and Sargon the second comes in. And what does Sargon decide to do? He's like, yo, we got to fill this land up. Let's take some people and put them in Samaria. Shomeron. Let's put them in Shomeron. Let's put them in the northern kingdom of Israel. So he took peoples from, let's see if I can get this right. He took peoples from Babel, which is Babylon. That's Iraq, right? Central southern Iraq. He took them from Kuth, same place, central southern Iraq, just a little north of Babylon, right? He took peoples from Awa. Awa is Assyria, Iraq. I'm not sure what part of Assyria that is, or Iraq, right? He took people from Hamath, which is Syria, Now, different from Assyria, but Syria, Hamath. He took people from, let's see if I can pronounce this, Sepharwaim, which means twin cities of Separ. It's two different cities named Separ. They were twin cities, sister cities, right? And or twin cities, and they had gods over them that they brought with them. All of these peoples brought their gods to the land of Samaria, Shomeron. They brought their gods with them. And they filled that land, and they were told to live there. And that's where they stayed. Now, this happened around 722 BC. They're in the land now. They live in this land. But there's a report coming back to the emperor. Oh, my God. These people are getting ate up. I don't know what's going on. Lions is coming everywhere. The Elohim of that land is not playing. And they don't know what to do. They just keep getting eaten by lions. The Elohim is not playing. What are we going to do? So the emperor says, look, this is what we're going to do. We're going to get a priest from one of the exiles, from one of those Yahshar'alites, right? We're going to get a priest from them, from those Samarians, because they had priests, and those priests would know what to do. We're going to send that priest over there. We're going to send him over there and teach them how to live by the rules of the Yah of the land, or the Elohim of the land, because there were Elohims. Elohims just mean gods, right? All of them are little g, except for our Elohim, who is most high, who is Yahudah, over the lands. And these Elohims who are over the lands have rules, and you have to follow their rules. And if you don't follow their rules, things happen. Hence, all of their gods that they had in Assyria. All of their gods, they had gods over the cities, and there were certain rules that they followed. Remember I mentioned those twin cities of Separ? They had a god named Adremelech and Anamelech. Adremelech means a magnificent king or magnificent god. He was a peacock-like god. And Anamelech was his wife. And same thing, Melech is king, right? And they required to be in their land, to live in their land, you had to sacrifice your children and put them to the fire in order to please them. That was the rule of their land. So that's what the people of the land did. Yahudah has rules when you come into his land. His land was that promised land, the land that he promised to Abraham. And that's where they were. And he had rules for that land, and they didn't know what the rules, so they kept breaking them, and they kept dying. They sent in a priest from the exile, the actual Yahshar'alite, an actual Samarian, and he taught them. This is what he taught them. He taught them the rules of Yah, right? But because they were already corrupt and they were doing the rules of Yah so they wouldn't die, but they also were mixing with other mighty ones or other gods or other Elohim, right? Little g, little e. He taught them how to do that too, because they already had their gods. And it's like, how do we do this? And it was like, okay, just do this. Oh, yeah, no problem. You can still have your other gods in it, because they weren't giving up their gods. They had multiple gods. So it was just another god to add on, right? For them, that was just natural for these people who were not actual Israel, but they became Israel. So they did this, and they were able to live in the land without getting eaten by lions. These lions roaming around seeking people to devour. That sounds familiar. Anyways, now you have people who are not actual of the 10 tribes in the land where the 10 tribes were, which is called Samaria. And you have Judah, who is still there. Judah is still there. So now for about 126 years, Judah is still in their land. Judah, the tribe of Judah, the tribe of Benjamin, and some Levites looking at these people in the land who now have just become converts to Judaism. I just said something bad. Maybe I said a bad word. No, it's not a bad word. It feels bad, though. It's a word that you need to pay attention to. It's something that you need to be cautious of. They became converts to Judaism, a religion, a set of rules that you would follow, a set of rituals that you would do just so you don't die, and then you can mix in everything else with it. That is Judaism. That sounds familiar too. But they were watching these people for about 126 years. And as they're watching these people and they saw what happened to their actual brothers, these 10 tribes who they had beef with anyway. So they was like, whatever, forget them. They ain't coming back. We don't need them back because they suck. But they never learned the lesson. They kept doing what they saw their northern brothers doing, which was rebelling against Yah. And guess what happened to them? Guess what happened to them? They get exiled. Now, this is about 597 BC. So about 126 years have went by, somewhere around there, right? Between 605 and 597 BC. The southern kingdom now of Judah gets exiled, and they go into, they go into Babylon. They're in Babylon now for about 70 years. And they were doing the same thing that their northern tribe that they claimed they hated were doing. They were mixing Yah with other mighty ones, and this is how they got expelled. And Yah sent his prophets. He sent Jeremiah. He had, who else? So Jeremiah, there was Ezekiel there. There was Daniel there. There was, I'm trying to think of some other people. Maybe Zechariah. Zedekiah, I feel like, all of these people were contemporaries. They were around at the same time saying the same thing. Stop doing this. Stop doing what you're doing. What are you doing? Even Isaiah was talking to Judah too. Like, yo, don't follow them. You're going to get the same thing. Hezekiah, you're going to get the same fate. Cut it out. But they didn't listen and they got exiled. Yah in his mercy, though, he said, only for 70 years, I'm going to allow you to come back. I'm going to allow you to come back. But this whole time, you have this northern kingdom that is still there as they're gone. And they come back and they still see these people in Samaria. We got beef because y'all ain't even one of us. Y'all claiming to be us, but y'all ain't one of us. Y'all not a part of the 10 tribes. Them 10 tribes is gone. They got scattered. They never came back. We don't like you. We never like you. Matter of fact, when you were actually you, we didn't like you. But y'all ain't you. I know that sounds confusing. But they had beef because now you have these people who believe that they are actually of Israel, of these 10 tribes, of Jacob, who aren't from Jacob. They were put in that land and told you live there now because we took the original people out. And they ain't coming back. So you fill this land and live here and follow the rules of the Yah or the Elohim of that land. But yeah, it's okay. You can mix too. They were doing it. They showed us how to do it. Matter of fact, remember we brought their priests in and they showed us how to mix Yah with other Elohim. So it's cool. We just call it Judaism now. That's what we call it. You can do that. See, you're not dying. There's no more lions anymore. You can do that. And as Judah, the southern kingdom of Israel came back and they were repenting and trying to come back to Yah, and their temple got destroyed, right? And they were rebuilding the temple. You have now Nehemiah and you have Ezra saying to them, yo, make Yah your only one. Make Yah your one and only. You cannot mix. Matter of fact, these foreign women that you came in with, all of this stuff that you came in with, these doctrines from Babylon and Assyria and these guys, get rid of them now. Get rid of them now. That's the whole reason why we're in this whole predicament in the first place. Let me digress for a second. So the whole purpose of Israel or Yahshar'al, right, was that Yah separated them from all the other nations so that Yahshar'al can show them and point them the way to Yahudah and show them who is truly the Most High and bring all the other nations back to him. That is the point of Israel. It was back then and it is still till this day. It has not changed. Yah doesn't change. He sets a thing in motion and he keeps it the same. Now, yes, he can do a new thing, but that new thing is always related back to the thing that he says before. It just has a different look on it now because he said he don't change. So that's true. Even when it looks like, yeah, well, you changed. You did something new. We don't have to sacrifice animals no more because now you brought your son. Yeah, that changed, but it didn't change. If you get my drift. The whole goal and the whole point of it is still the same. Come back to me. I need you to come to me and me only. I am the Most High. You need to have respect for me and no one else. You need to do what I say and don't listen to anyone else, because if you do what I say, it will go well with you. That never changed. Right? So now Yahusha comes on the scene. Yahusha, for those who might not know, is Jesus, right? But Jesus is not his real name. So we call him Yahusha by his real name. He was a Hebrew. He was a Jew, or a Yahudim, right? So that's what we call him by his true name, Yahusha. It means something. It matters. It actually matters, right? He comes on the scene, and now we have this picture of him. I think it's either in Luke or Matthew, where he's talking to this woman at the well, and this woman is a Samarian. The same Samarians that were actually put into the land that believe now that they are of Yahshar'al, but they are not. And he's talking to this woman, and he's getting real spicy and salty with her. I'm like, yo, what is up with that? Why? What's all the hostility for? I thought y'all was brothers. But then you go back to 2 Kings chapter 17, and you realize that those people that are there now this is over 750 years later. 750 years later. Around, it's a guesstimate, and we don't have the exact dates, but about 750 years later, give or take, that Yahusha now is talking to this woman at the well and talking real spicy. And she's talking how she's talking, because 750 years went by. You can't tell her that she's not Israel. This is what she's been told for centuries, for 7.5 centuries. Her and her people have been told that they are Israel, or Yahshar'al, right? So you can't tell her that. And he's talking to her, and he's telling his disciples, don't go the way of the Samaritans. Don't go to them. I need you to find my lost sheep. Who are the lost sheep? That's something, right? I need you to find my lost sheep. Go find them. Go into these other places and find my lost sheep, because they got scattered. Just like you got scattered, but they didn't come back. Find my lost sheep. Don't talk to them. No, don't mess with them peoples. Yeah, don't mess with them. I got a plan for them, but don't mess with them right now. Leave them alone. If they truly want to come to me, then yes, I'll save them. But leave the rest of them alone, because they are Jews that say they are Jews, but they're not Jews. Right? So now this beef starts to make sense. And even now, us at this day and age, 2025, things start to click now as we look at the world and look at what the world says and what the world believes about people who say they are something. And we know for a fact that they're not, because we have the rule book, we have the scriptures, we have the actual word, Yahusha himself. And we look at the word and what's said in the word, and we read this thing, right? We study this thing, right? We study this thing, and it doesn't line up with what we see these people who say they are the people doing. It doesn't line up with their religion. All right, let's go back to Paul. And I mentioned Galatians, right? This is the last thing I'll say, and then I'll let it go. There is going to be another part to this. I can't just let it go, but I'm going to let it go for now. But this Galatians chapter 1. So Paul is talking to these Galatians, and he's like, yo, how did y'all so quickly stray away from the good news that I brought to you? What is going on here? How did y'all... Who bewitched you? You see that, him saying that to these peoples in these different cities, like Colossae and the Romans of Rome, right? And Galatia and Ephesus. He's talking to these people. Thyatira. He's going to all these different places, Macedonia. And he's like, yo, who took the good news away from you that I brought to you? The good news that I brought to you is the only good news. There is no other good news, and it doesn't come in any other form than the way that I brought it to you. That's the good news. And I know y'all got issues with Paul, but catch this. Read that chapter and catch it. The good news that I brought to you, this is what Paul said. Shaul, this is what he said. The good news that I brought to you is the only good news. I'm going to tell you why it's the only good news. Because I was in that, what you are claiming to be the good news. I was in that. I was in Yahudaism, Judaism. I was in that. Not only was I in that, I was the best at it. I was young and I was advanced in it, more advanced than any of those older elders that were in it. You couldn't tell me nothing about Yahudaism or Judaism, the religion, because I was in that, where we mixed Yah with other mighty ones and rituals and rules and traditions of men. You couldn't tell me nothing. And I was so fervent in it that I was killing the people who actually had the good news, because the good news was opposed to Judaism, Yahudaism. I can't even say it, right? But it was opposed to that. And where did we get that from? We got that from the northern tribes and from the southern tribes of Israel, who mixed Yah with all of these other mighty ones, the things that they got from the nations. That's how we got Judaism. We did that. I was in that. That is not the good news. That is called religion. This good news was revealed to me by the Father himself through his son. His actual son, Yahusha, showed up to me and showed me the good news that now I can have an actual relationship through the Son to get to the Father, to get the true good news and find the true way. This way that we follow is the good news, because it takes you out of religion and brings you into the relationship that connects you back to the Father. And the Son is the bridge. The Son is the deliverance. He's the salvation. That's the good news. Who took that away from you? Whoever told you anything other than that is accursed. The person is accursed, and what they're saying is accursed. If anybody says anything other than that, they are accursed. If anybody is doing anything other than that, they are accursed. They are not who they say they are. These people are not who they say they are, because they don't follow the way. The way is in here. The way is the Word. Who is the Word? The Word is the Son, Yahusha. Anything else is a curse.